Everyone, welcome back to the workshop. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about portable engraving. It's one of the questions I get asked quite frequently is, what's the best laser? But more importantly, how do I power it? And so we're going to be looking at the Egretech Sonic 1200. This is a portable power station that I think pairs well with the xTool F1, which is one of my favorite on-site engraving machines. We're going to look at the features of this unit, what it can do, why I like it, and then I'll show you my setup as far as what works well to kind of really maximize the power out of this unit. So if that's something you're interested in, want to learn more, stay tuned. I'm going to jump right into it. So let's take a closer look at the power unit. When looking for a unit that I'm going to use with laser engraving on site, it's always a balance of power capacity to overall weight and bulk. And so you want to find something that's going to last most of your event. Hopefully it's just one day and you can recharge it. But you also have to think about the size and the bulk. It's one more thing you got to carry in. Some of these events you can't park right by, so you're carting them in. So there's definitely a balance there. What I like about this one is its capacity is stated at basically 1,000 watt hours, or technically 999 watt hours, which gives you a pretty decent runtime, as we're going to see later, when you keep your power usage in check. The other nice thing about this one is it's a balance. There's a little bit of weight to it. It comes in about 10 kilograms or roughly 22 pounds, but it has a nice handle. You can carry it one-handed without too much hassle, and it is nice and square. So it's going to pack well. It's going to be something you can carry by hand and not be too encumbered by it, but also it's kind of square shape. It's going to lend it to being packed well with other items. So right front, when we turn this on, you'll see we have a nice little power panel, and off to the side, we have our USB ports. So there are 4 USB ports in total. We have 2 USB-A ports, and those are at a 24 watt max, along with 2 USB-C, which actually come in at 100 watts each. So you can definitely be fast charging some devices. If you have a newer laptop that can charge off a USB-C, those are going to feed it well. And that's actually the better way to do it, as it reduces the loss of using the inverter to use an AC power adapter. Now, over on the other side, we have a DC car port. And so this is available for a single port in there. And I believe this one is it's 12 volts at 10 amps max, so about 120 watts there as well. Now, as you want to use or not use items, you do need to turn them on or off, and then the display is going to bring up the total runtime and the current watt draw. Right up at the top, we're seeing the overall percentage use of the battery as well, and then at the bottom, we're going to see which ones are turned on. So now off to the right side, we do have our AC ports. We have 2 of them. These are at 100 or 1200 watts max. This is a pure sine wave inverter, so it's going to give you nice clean power. With the 2 ports, most of your devices are going to work pretty well. You may need to add a power strip if you have some additional devices as well. Now, in addition to these, we also have up on top, we have a nice wireless charging port. I believe this is up to about 15 watts max. So if you have an inductive charger on your cell phone, you can just lay it on top. You do need to turn the DC power port on to activate that, but that will allow you to top off your phone if you're using it as a hotspot or running credit cards. It's nice to keep that charged up as well. Now, as far as input power, we can swing this over to the other side. On the left side as you're facing front, we do have this panel here. And this does pop up, and we have an AC power plug as well as an XT60 DC port. Now, the nice thing about this device is the inverter for charging this is included in the box. You don't have a separate power brick, so it just takes a standard PC cable to provide power to this. And so that's nice. It's a common plug. You probably have a bunch of these if you have computers and other devices, but it's a lot easier to pack this. And if you lose it, you're not out a whole lot trying to find the right power brick. Now, this does allow it to charge up to a rate of about 1,000 watts, which is really nice. It'll quick charge to about 80% in about an hour. To fully charge from completely drained would be about an hour and a half to an hour and 3/4. So on AC power, that is a very quick charge. And that's one of the features I like about this one compared to some of my others I've used. The input power on AC is very fast. Some of my other ones you have to let sit for 7, 8, 9 hours because they only have a 200 watt input. Now, the DC port is, as I mentioned, that's an XT60. They do provide you a carport charger. Now, this is going to be slower. It's a 200 watt max input, but it's something that if you're on the road and need to top it off, you can plug it in, let your alternator on your car charge it up, or sold separately, you can plug in a solar panel. Now, this takes a maximum of 24 volts and 200 watts. So depending on the panel you have, you're going to be getting about 100 to 160 watts in there. So this will take maybe, depending on the sun and the conditions, 6 to 9 hours to charge on that. I do have a concern that this could break off if you're charging it and it gets bumped. It is there to protect the leads on these batteries, but you know, at the value price of this unit, I'm not going to fault them too much for that. And then, of course, the limited solar input power, you know, 200 watts is nice, but like I say, it's going to take about all day to power this up, and that's if you have ideal sun conditions. But we're looking at a more portable budget power unit for you. I think this fits the bill pretty well. So let's get some things hooked up. We're going to hook up a laptop. We're going to hook up the F1, and I'll show you kind of a good setup to run off this and how long we can expect it to go. All right, so here you see kind of the rough setup here. Now, if I was at an actual event, I would be probably condensing this in. I might have the power unit down underneath the table and such, because I actually use more of a 5-foot wide table for my setup. But I wanted to kind of give you an idea of how everything looks here. And let me talk through a few of the reasons I'm using certain things here. Now, another question I get asked a lot is, what is a good computer for running Lightburn or maybe xTool Creative Space? So what I'm actually running is a refurbished Microsoft Surface Pro device. This is probably about 6 or 7 years old at this point, but it's still running strong, runs Windows 10. It doesn't have a whole lot of storage, but I use Google Drive to be able to pull down the files I need at the time. So I don't have to store as much on here. But as far as running xTool Creative Space, Lightburn, even the We Create Make It software, it is plenty powerful enough to be able to run those and do some basic modifications. The other nice benefit to these is if you look at the brick, the power adapter for this, it's got a maximum draw of 45 watts. And that's one of the things you're looking for in all of this is you want the lower wattage setup. So right now I had to use a power strip to plug into the unit because I've got 3 things plugged in on AC power. I've got the laptop tablet, as well as the F1, as well as the desktop air purifier. They all have their separate power sources. But these 2 are powered off right now, and I'm drawing, just sitting here idle, only about 36, 37 watts of power. And at that, this is going to run that laptop just sitting there idle for about 22 hours, and we're down about 82%. So you wanted to just run this laptop with basic needs, it's going to run it for a good solid day. Same thing with the F1. When it's running, sitting at idle, it's maybe another 20 watts. And then adding to the fume extractor, again, it's got 3 different levels. If I run it on the lowest setting, I don't think it does enough extraction, but it's sipping maybe 10 watts of power. On the medium level, it's around 22, and at high, it's about 30 watts. So altogether, I'm guessing that we're going to be sitting in that 80 to 100 watts of power. And so that's going to allow this unit, with some losses just through the conversion and such, probably a good solid 8 hours. All right, we're going to turn the laser on. That's going to also link into the fan unit. So we're jumping up to about 50 watts now, sitting around 14 hours, 15 hours. All right, let's power up xTool Creative Space. All right, so we are connected, and we've got this running, still humming along around 50 watts. So let's go ahead and test something out. One of the more common things that we end up doing with these at events, of course, is engraving dog tags or maybe these business cards with different things. So I'm going to go ahead and drop one of these in here. Now, I should have a jig for this to make this easier, but we're just kind of going a little on the fly here. So, and I do have this set up to where it should automatically power on the air extractor. So let's go ahead and process this. All right, so we've got the air extractor running, the air purifier. We've got the laser engraving. And as I thought, we were right around 100 watts. So at this, with 80% power, says it's going to be running about seven to 8 hours. And again, we're powering the laptop, the laser, and the fume extractor. So just to compare it to my other device, this is reading 95, whereas that's 90. So I feel that the screen there is fairly close to what my other meter is running. So we can be fairly accurate that they are giving us accurate power readings. All right, so the fan's running down a little bit, but the laser's powered off. We're sitting at about 85, 84 watts. And now that's going to ramp back down. And the unit is coming back down to sitting at about an idle of about 50 watts. So at idle, it's running around 50 watts. Full power on that, we were running about 100. All right, so we tested that setup with the xTool F1, which is by far one of my preferred portable laser units, but I've also shown this one in the past. It's the Atomstack A24 Pro. Built this kind of portable platform, and it keeps the air pump and the laser all together. This should run a little bit more power, but I think it's still going to be decent. So let's get this powered on. We'll start up a job. We'll see how much power it's running, kind of similar to what we did with the F1. So on these sections with the darker burn, the longer burn, it's actually jumping up to about 130. So that's it's good to know. We're peaking up there a little bit. All right, so here we are on the line operation. So this just goes around all the engravings. So it's a little more power, constant of a beam. And we're sitting around 113 watts total, dropping down to about 90 there. But as we come up on the cut operation here in just a little bit, we'll take a look and see what that's looking like. All right, so we're doing the cut operation. And here it looks like it's peaking up around 153. Kind of holding steady there. We're running 100% power on the laser. So there you see, we're kind of topping out 150 watts. That would bring our runtime down to about 4 hours if we were running that constantly. Maybe 5 because we're about 25% down on the power, give or take. So as you can see, we were running a little more power with this unit, and I didn't have a smoke extraction system set up on here. And we were topping out around 150 watts. So that's another 50% of the power used just to run this one. Still doable, but as you saw with this unit, after it's been depleted about 25%, give or take, we're down to about that 4 hours of runtime when it's at its maximum power usage. That's full power cutting and such. So still definitely usable, but you're going to have a reduced runtime on it due to the increased power of these. So after our use, we can go ahead and recharge this. As I mentioned, it has this included AC inverter, and we're going to go ahead and plug this in, check that out. So just plug that in onto the side, plug it into our wall power. And we'll see here on the bottom, it's starting to bring the power back in. So we're coming up to about 833 watts input. And it's telling us about 36 minutes to recharge. If this was more fully depleted, we'd probably see closer to that 1,000 watts. It kind of ramps into it, hits a peak, and then as it gets closer to full charge, it will back off just to not harm the batteries by hitting them with too much power as it's topping off the batteries. But definitely something that, like I mentioned earlier, if you had a quick half-hour break, you had some access to AC power, you could bring this over there, really top off some of that energy and get some more use in your day. Anyway, so that's why I think I'll wrap this up. I hope this gave you some good ideas on your mobile setup. And I want to thank Egretech for sending this out. It was nice to take a look at this. And this size is a pretty nice unit matched up with the xTool F1. But as you saw, I was even able to run the Atomstack A24, both decent portable units for being able to engrave on site. And we'll give you some reasonable runtime. And if you feel you need more of that, they do have some larger units you can check out as well. I'll have links down to this in the description of this video, as well as the lasers I use. So if anything piqued your interest, you want to learn more, appreciate you using those links, as it tells companies that you appreciated my feedback, and it does give a little bit of a kickback to me. It allows me to buy materials and things to continue using these. I'll be playing around with this a little bit more. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be taking a quick little trip up north here in Minnesota, and planning on bringing these along and seeing if I can do some portable lasering on the road. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned and hit that subscribe button. You'll be sure to catch that. Anyway, thanks for checking this out. I hope you found it informative, and we will have more to come soon. So hit me up in the comments down below what you thought of this, if you have any additional questions. Otherwise, stay tuned. We will have more in the near future. But I also hope you can get out into your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you next time.